And in this episode, I want to talk to you about how to create some momentum when you're feeling like things are not moving, they're kind of stagnant, they're kind of at status quo. This can be a really frustrating place to be when you are a growth-oriented woman, you're a high achiever, you like to get things done, you like to get things moving, you like to be in charge and in control, and you're finding it frustrating because in every other area of your life, you can create change with this energy, but in your relationship, all this is doing is using up your energy. It's taking your life force energy, and it's making it so that you don't have that energy to create momentum in other areas of your life the way that you could if it weren't for this relationship that is essentially weighing you down. It's really important to be able to recognize what are the blocks to creating that momentum, creating what it is that you truly want. I know I've worked with many high-achieving, successful women who are crushing it in their careers. They're really, really good at what they do. They tend to immerse themselves in work to avoid their pain that they're feeling in the relationship, the rejection, the abandonment wounds that are coming up from the relationship. And they pour themselves into their work, career, business, and this just creates more stagnancy because you're not actually putting some attention in the areas that if you were to deal with them, you would have exponential quantum leaps in your growth, healing, and transformation. So this is where I'm going to be running a 3-day live event that I have not ever done. This is brand new, and it's called the Marriage Momentum Challenge. You can purchase the general admission pass or the VIP pass, and the link will be in the show notes. But we're going to get into how do you start to create momentum when things are feeling stagnant. You're going to identify your personal blind spots and areas of growth that you need to focus on, where you've already grown and where you have your strong points, but also where are your blind spots? Where are those weak links that you keep falling into that keep you trapped in those same cycle of patterns no matter what you do? And then you're going to learn where you need to put your focus to create momentum toward what it is you truly want. You're going to discover how to begin rewiring your anxious attachment patterns. And we're going to talk about this from my perspective, what is happening when we have anxious attachment patterns in a relationship where there is potentially trauma bonding, those cycles of highs and lows, those cycles of an addictive component to the relationship, and why smart, successful, high-achieving, ambitious women can get stuck in these situations. And we're going to talk about the stigmas and the faulty beliefs and societal patternings, the societal belief systems that keep women feeling shame because they have success in other areas, and maybe they have a forward-facing career or business, or they're doctors or therapists, and they're seeing people, they're seeing patients, they're seeing clients, and they feel a bit like a fraud because of what's going on behind closed doors. So that actually is one of the limiting beliefs that high-achieving, successful women have, is we think we should be able to handle it all on our own. We feel like we have to because we're too afraid to reach out and get the support we need because we feel shame. We feel like we're living a double life. We feel like we're incongruent, that we're totally misaligned somehow. And you may not say it that way. You just might feel shame. You might feel embarrassment. You might feel like I've heard it said that from women is like, I go to work, I see my patients, I see my clients, I do what I need to do. I run the meetings, I do all these things, and then I go home to this complete shit show or a totally empty, emotionally void marriage where I'm not getting any of my needs met. None of my emotional needs, none of my needs for intellectual stimulation and connection and recreation and teamwork and having that person in my corner. I go home and feel the opposite of how I feel when I'm out there doing the things that I know I'm good at. And that is a really painful and difficult place for a woman to be. Add into the mix, you're doing your best to be a good mother, trying to make sure that their needs are taken care of. And you might feel like, well, there is no time left in this pie of different things that's going on for me to actually figure myself out and figure out what I want and need. And I want to challenge you. And that's what we're going to talk about. How do you start creating that momentum to create some of those changes? And we're also going to dive into the 5 stages of awakening. We're going to talk about the emotional scale. We're going to talk about shame and how to start rising up the level of ascension in the awakening process so that you can shift and create that shift. Because before we can create momentum, we need to have even just a micro shift. It could just be some simple new way that I might say something or someone else might say something in the group that helps you have that shift, and then you start doing something different. And that is what creates the momentum. But what I can tell you is when you keep doing the same things over and over and over and over again, you think that you're doing the work. You think that you're doing things that should be moving things forward or improving things, or at least making things feel better. But instead, it feels like you just keep digging the hole deeper and you can't seem to create changes in that one area of your life. And if you think that your relationship life is separate from your health, your career, your friendships, your ability to mother well, your mental health, your hormones, like you think your relationship is over here happening in a vacuum, and then you're trying to put out all these other fires, not realizing that all these fires are being lit by the relationship or by your partner, right? And you're out there trying to put out all these fires on your own while you have someone that's going behind you relighting those fires. It's just an analogy that I use. It's similar to when you have kids and you are trying to clean up after them, and it feels like it's a perpetual ongoing cycle because you're doing the cleaning up and then the next thing you know, they're behind you making more mess. So it just feels like there's never any movement. And I like to compare that to when you're with a narcissistic or toxic, manipulative, emotionally immature husband, man. That is what they're doing in essence. So you wonder why you feel so frazzled, like you're losing your mind, because this is what's happening on a daily basis while you're trying to put your best face forward in the outside world. And I want to help you learn how to be in alignment so that we get rid of all of that feeling of shame that actually keeps you stuck in the same cycles. And moving into empowerment, moving into, all right, what is it that I actually want next in my life? What do I want? And we can get so stuck in our bubble of the grind of getting up, doing, getting stuff done, ticking off the lists, running here, running there. Check, 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 as type A women, right? Got the list done. And then from where I work with women who are in this place, as soon as we start to get to work on what it is they actually have to do, sometimes it can be confronting, and sometimes they can get triggered by having to do things differently. But that's the only way that you're going to create change, is by doing something differently. And so that really is, in essence, what creates the momentum. It's movement of energy, right? Everything is energy. Everything is moving. And so you could be creating the energy movement toward feeling, like you're not getting anywhere. You could be creating the energy toward feeling burnout and exhaustion and overwhelm because you're doing too much. And you have these beliefs that keep you pushing and trying to control and trying to force. And that will create burnout. And as we get into our 40s and 50s, we have huge hormonal shifts happening. And this is what I believe is why it's very common for women in their 40s to initiate a divorce, because as we get into this age, we're realizing, well, I am heading into an era where I may have more life behind me than I do ahead of me. Isn't that just a soul-shaking idea? You might have older kids and you're thinking they're going to be leaving the nest soon. And do I want to spend the rest of my life with this person when the kids aren't here to distract, to be something else I can focus on? Because do I really have a marriage? Do I really have a relationship with this person that is beyond just we're in it because we have kids and we have a house and we have dogs and we have things where just we get in the groove of what we're doing, but you're deeply unfulfilled. There's none of your needs are being met in this relationship. And so you get into this new phase of life. It can be more difficult, definitely, to uproot a family when you have young kids or babies or anything like that. It can definitely be much more difficult than doing that when they're older. But then also women can get stuck in this age, they're almost graduating, almost going off to college, so why don't I just stick it out? There's all these things that come up at this phase of life as well. But it's also one of the richest opportunities for really stepping into, what do I want now? Your kids are older. Your kids are kind of on their own, doing their own thing. And so this might be the perfect time for you to reassess what it is that you truly want. So if you're ready to get that going and you would like me to be your guide, then make sure that you jump into the Marriage Momentum Challenge that is coming up very soon. The link will be in the show notes. All right, bye for now.